The transport ship's engines hummed softly as it approached Station Omega-7. Through the thick glass windows, Kang Wu could see the massive space station growing larger with each passing minute. Its metal walls gleamed under the light of 3 different suns. Docking bays opened and closed like giant mouths as ships came and went. Kang Wu held his wooden staff tighter in his hands. The smooth wood felt warm against his palms. His grandfather had carved it from an old oak tree behind their house in Seoul. The old man had spent weeks making it perfect, checking every curve and testing its weight. Remember, his grandfather had said on the day Kang Wu left Earth, "This staff carries the wisdom of 1,000 years. Treat it with respect and it will serve you well." Now sitting in a ship full of alien cadets heading to the most important military academy in the galaxy, Kang Wu wondered if his grandfather's words would prove true. The other human cadets sat nearby. Park Ji-ho was cleaning his new plasma pistol for the 10th time that day. The weapon's blue energy core glowed softly in the dim light. Lee Soo-jin worked on her portable shield generator, making small adjustments with precise movements. Kim Da-eun studied star maps on her tablet, preparing for navigation classes. They all had modern equipment. They all looked ready for military academy. They all belonged here. Kang Wu looked down at his simple wooden staff and felt very alone. "Attention all cadets," came a voice over the ship's speaker system. "We are now docking with Station Omega-7. Please gather your equipment and prepare for disembarkation." The ship shuddered slightly as it connected with the station. Kang Wu stood up, staff in hand, and followed the other cadets toward the exit. His heart beat faster with each step. The docking bay was enormous. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of different species filled the space. Kang Wu had never seen so many aliens in one place before. The reptilian Vorthak students stood in neat groups, their scales catching the station's bright lights. The crystalline Nexari made soft chiming sounds as they communicated with each other. 4 armed Kelton cadets juggled multiple pieces of equipment with ease, and they all had weapons that looked like they belonged in the far future. Energy rifles that could punch holes through battleship armor, plasma swords that could cut through any known metal, force shields that could stop bullets and lasers alike, gravity hammers that could crush a tank with one swing. Then there was Kang Wu, holding a piece of wood. The whispers started almost immediately. "Look at the human boy," hissed a tall Vorthak cadet. "He brought a stick to military academy." "Maybe he thinks this is summer camp," laughed another alien, this one with blue skin and 4 eyes. "Do humans still live in caves?" asked a Nexari, its crystal body sparkling with what Kang Wu assumed was amusement. Park Ji-ho moved closer to his friend. "Ignore them," he whispered. "They don't understand." But Kang Wu could see the doubt in his fellow human's eyes. Even Park Ji-ho didn't really understand why Kang Wu had brought only a wooden staff to the galaxy's most advanced military academy. A loud voice boomed across the docking bay. "Attention all cadets. Form ranks for inspection." The hundreds of young beings quickly arranged themselves in straight lines. Kang Wu found himself in the front row, his wooden staff clearly visible to everyone behind him. He could hear more whispers and muffled laughter. Heavy footsteps echoed through the bay as the instructors approached. The lead figure was massive, even by Vorthak standards. His dark green scales looked like armor plating and his yellow eyes seemed to glow in the artificial light. 3 silver stars marked him as a high-ranking commander. "I am Commander Vextal," the huge alien announced. "For the next 2 years, this academy will be your home. You will learn to fight. You will learn to survive. You will learn to protect the galaxy from those who would harm it." His eyes swept across the ranks of cadets, taking in their various weapons and equipment. When his gaze reached Kang Wu, it stopped. "You there." Commander Vextal pointed directly at the human boy. "Step forward." Kang Wu's legs felt weak, but he stepped out of the line. Every eye in the docking bay was now focused on him. The silence was complete except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. "What is your name, cadet?" "Kang Wu, sir." "And what is that in your hands, Cadet Kang Wu?" "It's a staff, sir. A training staff." Commander Vextal's laugh was deep and rumbling. "A training staff made of wood." "Yes, sir." The commander walked closer, his massive form casting a shadow over the young human. "Do you see what your fellow cadets have brought, Cadet Kang Wu?" Kang Wu glanced around at the advanced weapons surrounding him. "Yes, sir. Energy weapons, plasma technology, molecular disruptors, the finest military equipment in the galaxy." Commander Vextal's voice grew louder. "And you have brought a stick." More laughter rippled through the ranks. Some cadets didn't even try to hide their amusement. "Do you think this is a joke, Cadet Kang Wu?" "No, sir." "Then perhaps you can explain to your fellow cadets why you believe a piece of wood will help you in combat against plasma rifles and energy shields." Kang Wu stood straighter. He thought about his grandfather's words, about the years of training, about the ancient techniques passed down through generations. But he also looked around at hundreds of aliens who were already convinced he was a fool. "I believe it will serve me well, sir." The silence that followed was even deeper than before. Then Commander Vextal threw back his head and laughed so hard that his whole body shook. "It will serve you well," he repeated between laughs. "A wooden stick will serve you well in space combat." The laughter spread through the docking bay like wildfire. Vorthak cadets hissed with amusement. Nexari chimed like broken bells. Even some of the human cadets smiled and shook their heads. "Well then," Commander Vextal said as his laughter finally died down. "We shall see how well your stick serves you, Cadet Kang Wu. We shall see indeed." The commander moved on to inspect other cadets, but the damage was done. For the rest of the inspection, whispered jokes and barely contained laughter followed Kang Wu wherever he looked. As the cadets were finally dismissed to find their quarters, Park Ji-ho caught up with his friend. "Kang Wu, maybe you should request better equipment. The academy has weapons you can borrow." But Kang Wu only held his staff tighter. "My grandfather gave this to me. It's all I need." Park Ji-ho looked confused and worried, but he nodded. "If you say so." That night, as Kang Wu lay on his narrow academy bunk, he could hear cadets in nearby rooms still talking about the human boy who brought a stick to military school. Their laughter echoed through the metal walls. Kang Wu closed his eyes and remembered his grandfather's weathered hands as they worked the wood, shaping it with love and patience. Tomorrow, his real training would begin. The academy alarm rang at exactly 0600 hours every morning. By that time, Kang Wu had already been awake for 2 hours. While his roommates slept in their bunks, Kang Wu stood in the center of their small room, moving through ancient forms with his wooden staff. His movements were slow and careful, each motion flowing into the next like water. The staff spun around his body in precise circles, never making a sound as it cut through the air. His grandfather had taught him these forms when he was just 7 years old. Back then, they had practiced in the small garden behind their house in Seoul. The old man would watch every movement with sharp eyes, correcting even the smallest mistakes. "The staff is not just wood," his grandfather would say. "It is an extension of your body, your mind, your spirit. When you move with perfect balance, you touch something greater than yourself." Kang Wu had never understood what his grandfather meant. But here, in the cold metal room on Station Omega 7, he continued the practice exactly as he had been taught. At 0600, his roommate Park Ji-ho opened his eyes and saw Kang Wu finishing his morning routine. "You do that every day?" Park Ji-ho said, sitting up in his bunk. "What's the point?" "My grandfather taught it to me," Kang Wu replied, placing his staff carefully against the wall. "It helps me focus." Park Ji-ho shook his head. "You should be studying plasma weapon systems instead. We have a test today." The test was held in Training Room 7, a large space filled with target dummies and weapon racks. Commander Vextal stood at the front of the room, his yellow eyes scanning the assembled cadets. "Today you will demonstrate basic combat skills," he announced. "Each cadet will engage 3 target dummies using their chosen weapon. You have 5 minutes." One by one, the cadets stepped forward to show their abilities. The Vorthak students moved with deadly precision, their energy rifles punching perfect holes through the target dummies. The Nexari used focused light beams that could slice through metal like paper. Even the human cadets performed well with their modern weapons. Then it was Kang Wu's turn. He stepped into the testing area, wooden staff in hand. The target dummies were made of reinforced metal designed to withstand plasma fire. They stood 8 feet tall with glowing red sensors that marked vital points. "Begin," Commander Vextal said. Kang Wu moved forward with his staff held low. The first dummy's sensors tracked his movement and activated defensive protocols. Energy shields flickered to life around the metal figure. Kang Wu struck with his staff. The wood bounced off the energy shield without effect. Laughter rippled through the watching cadets. He tried again, this time aiming for a different angle. The staff connected with the dummy's arm, but the metal was too strong. The wooden weapon left no mark at all. For 5 long minutes, Kang Wu attacked the training dummies with every technique he knew. His staff work was fast and precise, but the wood could not penetrate energy shields or damage reinforced metal. When the timer ended, all 3 dummies stood completely undamaged. 0 points, Commander Vextal announced. The wooden stick proves useless against modern defenses. More laughter filled the room. A Vorthak cadet named Zorthek spoke loud. Enough for everyone to hear. Maybe the human should try throwing the stick like a spear. It might work better. Even some of the human cadets looked embarrassed. Park Ji-ho stared at the floor and would not meet his friend's eyes. That afternoon, combat training continued in the simulation chambers. These rooms could create holographic enemies and realistic battle scenarios. The cadets faced waves of robot soldiers, space pirates, and alien warriors. Again and again, Kang Wu found himself outmatched. His wooden staff could not block energy, weapons. It could not cut through armor. It could not generate shields or fire projectiles. Every simulation ended with his quick defeat. The other cadets began to avoid him during mealtimes. They whispered when he walked past in the corridors. Some openly wondered why Earth had sent someone so unprepared to the galaxy's most important military academy. But one person paid attention to something the others missed. Lee Soo-jin was a brilliant engineering student who studied everything with scientific precision. While other cadets laughed at Kang Wu's failures, she watched his movements with curious eyes. After another failed simulation, she approached him in the empty training room. "Your staff work is mathematically perfect," she said without introduction. Kang Wu looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I've been analyzing your movements. Every strike follows precise angles. Every defensive position creates optimal force distribution. The patterns you use follow mathematical principles that most combat computers would need hours to calculate." She pulled out her tablet and showed him a complex diagram. "Look at this. Your staff creates these motion patterns during combat. They're based on advanced physics equations." Kang Wu studied the screen. The lines and numbers meant nothing to him, but he recognized the flowing movements from his morning practice. "My grandfather taught me these forms," he said. "But he never mentioned mathematics or physics. Maybe he didn't need to," Lee Soo-jin replied. "Ancient martial arts often contain scientific principles that weren't understood until much later. The people who created these techniques discovered truths about movement, balance, and force through centuries of practice." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "There's something else. When you move through your forms, I detect tiny fluctuations in the local energy fields. It's so small that normal sensors can't pick it up, but my modified equipment shows definite readings." "What kind of fluctuations?" "I don't know yet, but I think your grandfather taught you more than just martial arts. I think he taught you how to manipulate fundamental forces in ways that modern science doesn't fully understand." Kang Wu felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered his grandfather's words about touching something greater than yourself through perfect balance and movement. "Would you help me figure this out?" Lee Soo-jin asked. "I think you're capable of things that go far beyond what anyone realizes, including yourself." That night, Kang Wu practiced his forms with new awareness. Each movement felt different now, charged with possibilities he had never considered. His wooden staff seemed to vibrate slightly in his hands, as if responding to some unseen energy. In his bunk, he dreamed of his grandfather's weathered face and gentle smile. "The staff remembers," the old man said in the dream. "When you are ready, it will show you its true nature." Kang Wu woke before dawn as always, ready to begin another day of training. But now he had an ally who believed in him, and questions that demanded answers. The wooden staff leaned against the wall, waiting patiently for its secrets to be revealed. The alarm that woke the cadets at 300 hours was different from the morning call. This one screamed danger through every corridor of Station Omega 7. Red emergency lights flashed in harsh patterns across the metal walls. Kang Wu rolled out of his bunk instantly, grabbing his wooden staff from its place beside his bed. His roommates fumbled for their weapons and equipment in the dim red light. "All cadets report to emergency stations," came Commander Vextal's voice over the communication system. "This is not a drill. Hostile forces have breached the outer perimeter." Park Ji-ho checked his plasma pistol while Lee Soo-jin activated her portable shield generator. Kim Da-eun pulled up tactical displays on her tablet, trying to understand what was happening. "Space pirates," she said, reading the incoming reports. "3 ships heavily armed. They've already destroyed 2 security drones and are heading for the main docking bay." Through their room's small window, they could see flashes of weapons fire in the distance. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the station's defenses engaged the attacking ships. "All cadets are ordered to evacuate to emergency shelters," Commander Vextal's voice continued. "Security forces will handle the threat. Do not attempt to engage the enemy." The cadets began moving through the corridors, toward the designated safe areas. Hundreds of young beings from dozens of species hurried through the narrow passages. Fear filled the air as real danger replaced training exercises. But as they moved deeper into the station, the sounds of battle grew closer instead of farther away. Plasma fire echoed through the metal walls. Someone was screaming in a language Kang Wu didn't recognize. "The pirates got inside," Park Ji-ho whispered. "They're in the station." Suddenly the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but now only every 10th light panel worked. The corridors became a maze of shadows and dim red illumination. Then they heard the footsteps, heavy boots marching in formation, getting closer with each passing second. "Move faster," urged an older cadet from behind them, but there was nowhere to go. The corridor ahead ended in a sealed emergency door. The cadets pressed against it, trying to activate the opening mechanism, but the door remained locked. The footsteps stopped just around the corner behind them. Well, came a rough voice speaking standard galactic. "Look what we have here, a whole collection of baby soldiers." 5 figures stepped into view, all wearing black combat armor and carrying military-grade plasma rifles. Space pirates, the kind who raided merchant ships and attacked isolated stations for profit. Their weapons were trained on the group of cadets. "Nobody move," the lead pirate ordered. "We're looking for the Academy's computer core. Tell us where it is and maybe we let some of you live." The cadets huddled together in terror. These weren't training dummies or simulation programs. These were real killers with real weapons pointed at them. "I said nobody move," the pirate repeated, raising his rifle toward a Vorthok cadet who had tried to step backward. That's when something changed in Kang Wu. His grandfather's voice seemed to whisper in his ear, as clear as if the old man stood beside him. "When danger comes, the staff will know. Trust it completely." Kang Wu stepped forward, placing himself between the pirates and his fellow cadets. His wooden staff felt different in his hands now, warm and alive with energy he had never felt before. "Stay back, kid," the lead pirate warned. "That stick won't save you." But Kang Wu wasn't listening to the pirate anymore. He was listening to something deeper, something that connected him to his grandfather's teachings and centuries of ancient wisdom. The first pirate fired his plasma rifle. What happened next defied everything the cadets thought they knew about physics and combat. Kang Wu's staff moved faster than anyone could follow. The wooden weapon intercepted the plasma bolt in mid-flight, somehow redirecting the energy blast back toward its source. The reflected plasma struck the pirate's own rifle, overloading its power cell. The weapon exploded in his hands, sending him flying backward into the corridor wall. The other pirates stared in shock for exactly 1 second. Then they opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts filled the narrow corridor like deadly lightning. But Kang Wu moved through the energy storm as if he could see every shot before it was fired. His staff spun around his body in patterns that seemed impossible, deflecting bolt after bolt with perfect precision. Li Su-jin watched in amazement as her friend's movements created visible distortions in the air around him. The wooden staff was somehow manipulating space itself, bending the path of energy weapons and redirecting their force. "Impossible," she whispered. "The math doesn't work. Wood can't do that." But it was happening right in front of her eyes. A plasma bolt came, straight at Kang Woo's head. His staff intercepted it and sent it spinning into the ceiling. Another shot aimed at his chest was redirected into the floor. A third blast meant for his legs somehow bounced off his weapon and struck one of the remaining pirates. The pirates began to back away, their confidence shattered by what they were seeing. "What kind of weapon is that?" one of them shouted. "It's just wood," another replied, but his voice shook with fear. Kang Woo advanced toward them, his staff moving and flowing, patterns that created ripples in the very air. Where the wooden weapon passed, reality seemed to bend slightly, as if the universe itself was adjusting to accommodate its movement. The last 3 pirates turned and ran, their heavy boots echoing through the corridors as they fled back toward their ships. In the sudden silence that followed, dozens of cadets stared at Kang Woo with expressions of complete disbelief. The human boy who had been mocked for carrying a primitive weapon had just defeated 5 armed pirates using nothing but a piece of wood. Kim Da-un was the first to speak. "How did you do that?" Kang Woo looked down at his staff, still feeling the strange energy flowing through the wood. "I don't know. It felt like the staff was moving by itself." Li Su-jin approached him slowly, her scientific instruments beeping with readings she had never seen before. "The energy signatures are off the charts," she said in a shaky voice. "Whatever just happened, it shouldn't be possible according to any known laws of physics." Park Ji-ho stepped closer to his friend, looking at the wooden staff with new respect. "Your grandfather taught you this?" "He taught me the movements," Kang Woo replied. "But this is something I never experienced before." Commander Vextel's voice came over the communication system again, reporting that the pirate ships had retreated and the station was secure. But none of the cadets moved toward the emergency shelters. They were all staring at Kang Woo and his impossible wooden staff. Word of what had happened would spread quickly through the academy. By morning, everyone would know that the human boy they had mocked had done something that changed everything they thought they knew about weapons and warfare. Word of the pirate attack spread through Station Omega-7 like wildfire. By the next morning, every cadet and instructor had heard some version of what happened in Corridor 7. Most of the stories were wild exaggerations that grew more impossible, with each telling. Some said the human boy had destroyed 5 pirates with a single swing of his stick. Others claimed he had caught plasma bolts in his bare hands and thrown them back. A few even whispered that he had made himself invisible during the fight. But the alien cadets refused to believe any of it. "Humans always lie about their victories," sneered Zorthek, the Vorthak cadet who had mocked Kang Woo from the beginning. "They probably hid behind the others and are now taking credit for what the security forces did." Commander Vextal listened to the reports with growing irritation. The official security recordings from Corridor 7 had been damaged during the attack, leaving only witness statements from frightened cadets. Without solid evidence, he dismissed the stories as panic-induced fantasies. "Impossible things do not happen," he told his fellow instructors during their morning meeting. "Wooden sticks do not deflect plasma weapons." The cadets were scared and confused, nothing more. But Li Su-jin had not been confused. She had recorded everything with her modified scientific instruments, and the data showed energy readings that should not exist. When she tried to share her findings, the other cadets looked at her graphs and numbers without understanding. "These readings could mean anything," said a Nixari engineering student. "Maybe your equipment was damaged by the plasma fire." Even Park Ji-ho seemed uncertain about what he had witnessed. In the harsh light of day, with normal routine returning to the academy, the events in the corridor felt like a strange dream. "Maybe it was just luck," he suggested to Kang Woo as they walked to morning classes. "Maybe the pirates' weapons malfunctioned at the right moment." But Kang Woo knew what he had felt. The staff had moved with its own will, guided by knowledge, far beyond his understanding. The warm energy flowing through the wood had been as real as his own heartbeat. That afternoon, Commander Vexital made an announcement that surprised everyone. There will be a special demonstration today in the main training hall. His voice echoed through the station's communication system. All cadets are required to attend. The main training hall was the largest space on the station, capable of holding over 1,000 people. Cadets filled the viewing galleries while instructors gathered on the main floor. At the center of the room stood a single combat platform surrounded by energy barriers. Commander Vexital stepped onto the platform, his massive form casting long shadows under the bright lights. Yesterday, certain claims were made about the effectiveness of primitive weapons against modern technology, he announced. These claims go against everything we know about physics and warfare. His yellow eyes found Kang Wu in the crowd of cadets. Cadet Kang Wu, report to the platform. Kang Wu felt his heart racing as he made his way down to the training floor. Hundreds of eyes followed his movement. Whispers and murmurs filled the air around him. Bring your stick, Commander Vexital added with obvious mockery. When Kang Wu stepped onto the platform, the energy barriers activated around them. The transparent walls would contain any weapons fire and protect the watching cadets from harm. Today we will settle this matter once and for all, Commander Vexital continued. Cadet Kang Wu will face the Academy's most advanced combat drone, using only his wooden weapon. A section of the platform floor opened and a sleek metallic form rose into view. The Mekazeth combat drone was a masterpiece of military engineering. Its humanoid shape stood 7 feet tall, covered in adaptive armor plating. Multiple weapon systems extended from its arms and shoulders. This drone is programmed with the combat skills of 1,000 elite soldiers, Commander Vexital explained to the watching cadets. It carries plasma cannons, energy shields, predictive targeting systems, and enough firepower to destroy a small building. The drone activated with a low humming sound. Its red sensor eyes focused on Kang Wu, scanning him for threats and weaknesses. Weapon systems deployed from hidden compartments in its frame. Combat parameters set to full lethality, Commander Vexital announced. Begin when ready. The silence in the training hall was complete. Over 1,000 beings held their breath as they watched the human boy face the most dangerous machine in the Academy. Kang Wu held his wooden staff in both hands and closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of his grandfather's patient teachings, of countless hours practicing in their small garden. He remembered the feeling from the night before, when the staff had seemed to come alive in his hands. The drone moved first. Plasma cannons erupted with brilliant light, sending bolts of superheated energy across the platform. The sound was deafening even through the energy barriers. Where the plasma struck the platform walls, metal melted and ran like water, but Kang Wu was no longer where the drone had aimed. His staff spun in a complex pattern, creating a space around him where the plasma bolts simply could not reach, not because they were blocked or deflected, but because reality itself seemed to bend around the wooden weapon. The drone's targeting systems struggled to lock onto him. Every shot that should have been perfect missed by impossible margins. The machine's advanced artificial intelligence could not calculate patterns that defied the laws of physics it had been programmed to understand. Kang Wu moved across the platform like water flowing around stones. His staff work had become something beyond martial arts, beyond any technique known to modern science. The wooden weapon carved paths through space that created ripples in the fabric of reality itself. The drone increased its firepower, unleashing everything it had. Plasma cannons, energy missiles, particle beams, and gravity pulses filled the air with deadly light. None of it touched Kang Wu. He flowed between the attacks like they were standing still, his staff moving in patterns that hurt to watch directly. The wood seemed to glow with inner light, and the air around it shimmered with heat that had nothing to do with temperature. Then Kang Wu went on the attack. His staff struck the drone's energy shield with what should have been a gentle tap. The shield collapsed instantly, its generators overloading from forces they were never designed to handle. Another strike, this one to the machine's chest armor. The advanced plating cracked and fell away, revealing delicate circuits beneath. A third blow to the drone's head sent it staggering backward, its sensor eyes flickering and dimming. The entire sequence took less than 30 seconds. The drone, pride of military engineering and destroyer of small armies, crashed to the platform floor in smoking ruin. Its weapon system sparked and died one by one until only silence remained. Kang Wu stood in the center of the platform, his wooden staff held casually at his side. He was not even breathing hard. The training hall was so quiet that the hum of the station's life support system seemed loud by comparison. Commander Vextal stared at the destroyed drone with his mouth hanging open. His yellow eyes moved from the wreckage to the human boy and back again, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. In the viewing galleries, 1,000 cadets sat in stunned silence. The Vorthax students had stopped their mocking hisses. The Nexari no longer chimed with amusement. Even the human cadets looked shocked by what their fellow Earthborn had accomplished. Finally, one voice broke the silence. "How?" Commander Vextal whispered. "How is this possible?" Kang Wu looked up at his instructor and gave the only answer he could. "My grandfather taught me well." The news reached the hegemony fleet within hours of Kang Wu's demonstration. Admiral Krexivor, commander of the alien coalition's most powerful warship, received the report while sitting in his command chair aboard the Devastator. "A human boy destroyed our most advanced combat drone with a wooden stick," his intelligence officer reported, voice shaking with disbelief. Admiral Krexivor was a veteran of 50 space battles. His dark blue skin bore scars from plasma burns and energy blade cuts. He had conquered 12 star systems and destroyed hundreds of enemy ships. Nothing surprised him anymore, until now. "Show me the recordings," he ordered. The main display screen filled with security footage from Station Omega-7. Admiral Krexivor watched in silence as Kang Wu moved through the drone's attacks like they were harmless light shows. He saw the wooden staff bend reality itself, creating impossible physics that defied everything he knew about warfare. "This changes everything," he whispered. "If humans have developed weapons that can do this, they are more dangerous than we thought." The hegemony fleet had been testing human defenses for months, probing their weaknesses and planning for eventual conquest. Earth's primitive technology had made them seem like easy targets. But this demonstration suggested that humanity possessed secrets far beyond their apparent capabilities. "Prepare the Devastator for immediate departure," Admiral Krexivor commanded. "We will destroy this academy and the human boy before word of this spreads further." The Devastator was 3 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to level entire cities. Its shields could withstand the combined firepower of 100 ships. Its crew of 10,000 had never known defeat. If humans truly had discovered new forms of warfare, Admiral Krexivor would crush their hope before it could grow. 2 days later, alarms screamed across Station Omega-7 once again. But this time, they carried a different kind of terror. Massive enemy contact dropping out of hyperspace, came the urgent report from the sensor station. Single vessel, hegemony design, 3 kilometers in length. Commander Vextal stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The Devastator appeared on screen like a metal mountain floating in space, dwarfing everything around it. Weapon ports along its hull glowed with charging energy. "All defensive platforms prepare for combat," he ordered. "Launch all fighter squadrons. Send emergency signals to the nearest fleet bases." But everyone knew the truth. Station Omega-7's defenses were designed to handle pirates and raiders, not hegemony dreadnoughts. The Academy's fighters and defensive weapons would barely scratch the Devastator's shields. The alien warship moved closer, its massive bulk blocking out the stars. On the main communication channel, Admiral Krexivor's voice echoed through the station. "People of Station Omega-7, you harbor a dangerous weapon disguised as a primitive human. Surrender the boy with the wooden stick, and we will spare your lives. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why the hegemony rules this galaxy." In the Academy's main command center, panic filled the air. Officers ran between control stations, trying to coordinate a defense they knew was hopeless. Cadets huddled in emergency shelters, waiting for death to arrive from space. But in his small quarters, Kang Wu stood quietly with his wooden staff, listening to the chaos around him. Li Su-jin burst through his door, her face pale with fear. "They want you," she said. "The whole attack is because of what you did to that drone." Park Ji-ho and Kim Da-eun followed her into the room. All three of his human friends looked terrified. "Maybe you should surrender," Park Ji-ho suggested. "If you go with them, they might leave the rest of us alone." Kang-woo looked at his friends, then at his grandfather's wooden staff. He thought about the old man's patient teachings, about the ancient wisdom passed down through generations of Korean masters. His grandfather had always said that true strength came with responsibility. Those who possessed power had a duty to protect those who could not protect themselves. "No," Kang-woo said quietly. "I won't let them hurt anyone." He walked past his friends toward the door, but Lee Soo-jin grabbed his arm. "What are you going to do? You can't fight a whole warship." Kang-woo smiled, remembering his grandfather's weathered face and gentle eyes. "My grandfather once told me that a single drop of water can wear away the mightiest mountain, given enough time and the right approach." Before anyone could stop him, he was running through the corridors toward the docking bay. 10 minutes later, Commander Vextal received the most insane request in military history. "You want to what?" he asked, staring at the young human in disbelief. "Launch me in a maintenance pod toward their ship," Kang-woo repeated. "I need to get close enough to use my staff." "That's suicide. The Devastator's point defense systems will destroy any small craft that approaches. They won't expect a maintenance pod, and I only need a few seconds." Commander Vextal looked at the tactical display showing the massive enemy warship. His defensive platforms were already failing under the Devastator's opening barrage. In minutes, the station's shields would collapse, and the slaughter would begin. He had no other options. "Do it," he ordered. The maintenance pod was barely large enough for one person. It had no weapons, no shields, and minimal life support. As Kang-woo climbed inside with his wooden staff, every rational part of his mind screamed that this was impossible. But his grandfather's voice whispered in his memory, "Trust the staff completely. It will show you wonders beyond imagination." The pod launched from the station's cargo bay, accelerating toward the massive warship. On the Devastator's bridge, Admiral Krexfor watched the tiny craft approach. "A maintenance pod," his weapons officer reported. "Shall we destroy it?" "Let it come," Admiral Krexfor replied. "I want to see what desperate plan they think will save them." As the pod drew closer to the warship's hull, Kang-woo opened the maintenance hatch and stepped into space. His academy suit provided air and protection, but he was now completely exposed in the vacuum between two massive machines of war. He raised his wooden staff and began to move. In zero gravity, the ancient forms took on new meaning. Without the pull of planetary gravity, Kang-woo's movements became pure geometry, perfect mathematical expressions of force and motion. The staff carved patterns through space that created ripples in the very fabric of reality. On the Devastator's bridge, Admiral Krexfor watched in growing amazement as the human boy floated between the stars, moving his primitive weapon in complex dances. "What is he doing?" the weapons officer asked. Then the impossible happened. The wooden staff's movements began to resonate with the quantum structure of space itself. What had started as martial arts became something far greater, a manipulation of fundamental forces that modern science barely understood. The Devastator, 3 kilometers of advanced alien engineering, began to vibrate. At first, it was barely noticeable. But as Kang-woo continued his staff work, the vibrations grew stronger. Metal bulkheads groaned under stresses they were never designed to handle. Critical systems throughout the ship began to fail as their molecular bonds destabilized. "Impossible," Admiral Krexivor whispered, watching his mighty warship shake itself apart. "A wooden stick cannot do this." But it was happening before his eyes. The vibrations reached a crescendo as Kang-woo completed the final movement of his grandfather's most advanced form. The staff carved one last perfect arc through space, and reality itself seemed to ring like a struck bell. The Devastator split, not with explosions or weapons fire, but with the quiet precision of a sword cutting silk. The massive warship divided along its entire 3-kilometer length, separating into 2 perfect halves that drifted apart in the silence of space. 10,000 alien crew members floated in emergency pods, staring in shock at their impossible Defeat. Admiral Krexivor's final transmission before his command section lost power was barely a whisper. How did a wooden stick destroy the pride of our fleet? As rescue ships arrived to collect the stunned survivors, Kang Wu floated peacefully between the two halves of the broken warship. His grandfather's staff felt warm in his hands, humming with satisfied energy. The galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet human with the simple wooden stick. On Station Omega-7, Commander Vexital stood in his command center, watching the impossible scene through the main display. Around him, cadets and instructors from dozens of species stared in reverent silence. The boy they had mocked for carrying primitive wood had just achieved something that would be remembered for 1,000 years. Humanity had proven that sometimes the oldest wisdom was also the most powerful.